Hi everyone, welcome back to the Startup series. I have no idea what episode we're on now because we've done so many this year, which is always a positive, but I'm so excited to bring my advisor for Endorse Me. I've been every time I do a podcast, I talk about you.
Oh wow.
Every single one, no joke. This is Lee Lam, everybody.
Hi.
This is who I talk about all the time. I've put your link in every single podcast.
Now I know where they come from.
Yeah. But no, I'm really excited to have Lee on this episode just to talk about all things startup, because I know people have had questions, but I'm going to let Lee quickly explain a bit about herself and what she's been up to and what she's been doing. So over to you, Lee.
Okay, cool. This is weird. We're normally talking about your business, not mine.
Yeah.
So I'm a business strategist, founder of a company called Your Startup Partner, primarily working with very early startups, but increasingly bigger startups, ones on a growth journey, not just set up. Seem to have a penchant for solo entrepreneurs because that's how I see my role.
Yeah.
I'm partnering with someone who needs someone who understands about the business but doesn't have anything realistically invested into it.
Yeah.
So I'm not emotionally invested, I'm not financially invested. Apart from as soon as I hear an idea, I'm like, yeah, cool, we've got to do that, we've got to do it. So,
I love that. I mean, it's so good having you on because there's so many people that want to start businesses. But then there are so many myths. So there's one that we all hear that you want to start a business, you need investment.
Yeah.
So I think I wanted to bring you on here today so we could almost kind of disrupt it a bit and say, actually, there's another way you can do it and you don't necessarily need lots of funds yourself to do it. So maybe we start there.
Yeah.
In your experience and what you've been doing working with founders, even for yourself, have you found that all successful founders have had investment?
No. And primarily because I guess it depends on the definition of success.
Yeah.
If you get investment, can you look successful? Yes, you can put out more marketing, you can get into every podcast, every magazine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of PR that comes with having successfully got an investor.
Yeah.
That to me isn't a successful business.
Yeah.
That's you've managed to convince somebody that you can run a successful business.
Yeah.
It's really the proof is in the pudding, right? It's actually going out and creating a commercially viable business. That does obviously, it helps if you have money.
Yeah.
But it's not a prerequisite.
Yeah.
As long as you create a strategy that starts from your position, not from someone else's.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that myth comes from this idea that, you know, some of the most impressive, successful entrepreneurs started from the ground up, and then you're digging a little bit to their history and you find that there was wealthy parents, wealthy individual, a sum of cash that they had available, or simply they knew the right people.
Yeah.
So a lot of the success doesn't come from the money in the bank. It comes from what happens around it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that money available, you can still succeed, but you will go a different path.
Okay.
It may be slightly slower.
Yeah.
But you will learn more about your business. You will know everything about your business because most of business, when we look at it from the outside, is about sales. Where actually being an entrepreneur is about managing your business, keeping your costs low, understanding how to get more out of less. And that doesn't come easy when you've got an open bank balance, right?
Exactly.
It definitely does when you have to be a little bit more choosy.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing, is that people want this success or they want investment and that defines the success for them. But something I've learned with Lee along my journey, and I've explained it before, but the real success is the revenue generation. It's essentially the investment side of it, for me anyway. Now that I've learned more from you, it would have put me back a little bit. But it's such a big thing. When I talk to people, they say, okay, I'm starting a business, I need to go and find investment. That's the thing that if anybody's out there watching it, I just want you to know, and you've heard it from Lee, that's not true.
No, not at all. Not at all. You have to look at your business idea and think, do I need investment? As opposed to, I'm an entrepreneur, therefore I should create a pitch deck and go out and ask for investors.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of startup founders who will take you through the pitch deck, and when you get to the point of how much they're asking for, they sort of falter a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you dig into it, it's because they don't really know why they need the money.
Yeah.
It sounded like a good number. It's more money than they can conceive.
Yeah.
And they've got a rough idea of what they would do if they had it. But it feels very much like if I won the lottery, as opposed to, in order for this business to be successful, I need to invest this much money in marketing, this much in product development.
Yeah.
I need to hire these people with these numbers. And it's one of the reasons why investors will ask you for your financial forecast, because they want to see the thinking behind that number.
Yeah.
Most people who can't give you that answer, it's because they don't know why they need the money.
Yeah.
So why not start from the point of view of, maybe I don't need it?
Exactly that. So just on that then, because obviously we live in a tech world now.
Yeah.
People want to start building apps. But if we're saying, okay, you don't necessarily need investment for that, what would you say to someone who's thinking about starting an app but can't go out and get investment, and ideally they're bootstrapping?
The first thing to be very, very clear on is what your app needs to do.
Yeah.
Right. We've talked before about the customer journey, right?
Yeah.
This idea that you might know visually what it's going to look like, but really understanding the functions and the flow of what the app is going to do can help you then understand how much development is really needed.
Yeah.
So, we have more and more kind of no-code solutions coming through. There's also more platforms coming through that may give you a very sort of cheap and nasty version of your idea. So, for example, if you wanted to create something that had content that people paid for, yes, ideally it would be your own platform, but you may start on YouTube, or you may start on something like Patreon, because part of the first test is, do people really want this?
Yes.
Particularly with apps, we have so many apps implemented and launched every day.
Yeah.
Trying to find something that's new and different and exciting is really, really tough. And so you have to understand what that app's going to do first.
Yeah.
So that you can see, yes, there definitely is a need for it, before you even consider going out and hiring a developer or anything like that. If
someone is more creative or less techie, someone similar to me in that sense, and they're starting out, our first thought is, I'm just going to find a developer straight away. So would you say the first step is to really sit down and just figure out that customer journey first, and then go to somebody and build out an MVP or just something around that?
Yeah, the problem with going to any developer is a developer kind of thinks in code. So they're expecting you to break it down into the way that the code would be structured. Yeah. Now, if you're non-techie, you're not going to be able to do that. No. Your only source of information will be being able to explain to them, when they click this button, I want this to show. Okay. So you kind of have to have the customer journey and what the process is really nailed down, so that you can then say it to them in a way that they can kind of build the code in their head. Yeah. If you go to a developer too early, you're talking different languages. And something that you might have assumed, well, obviously, I want a pay now button. Yeah. No, because developers, sorry if there are any developers out there, but, you kind of think logically. You think of what you need, and they don't believe in assumptions. Yeah. So you have to spell it out for them. when you're developing the code alongside them, then you're in the space of, this is what my view is, this is what my vision looks like.
Yeah.
And then they take those pieces and can help you. So absolutely, customer journey first every time.
Yeah. And we get to that point now where, they've done a customer journey and then they're actually speaking to different developers, or this is where other advisors come in. Now, I just hear these horror stories every day, and I really wanted to talk about contracts and shares. And just educating people on that, because in the beginning, a lot of people who are non-techie, let's say, they always think they need a co-founder or an advisor. And like we've discussed, the easiest thing to give up are shares if you don't have revenue. But I wanted to see if you could talk more around the dangers, I don't know if that's the right word, the dangers of doing that and what they could do instead.
Yeah, so I think at the time, if you have no funds available and you're desperate for help, then the only thing you have of value is the potential in your business. And that's why I think shares become sort of like the go-to for a lot of companies, because they think, well, if you help me, then this is going to be worth something. So I think it's usually framed as, a quid pro quo. Your benefit, our benefit, we'll all be happy. For me, I've been thrown some percentages for supporting someone, which I would say, if that was real money, you would never offer me that much money. Advisors on like 20-30% shares. I mean, it's crazy. It's just don't be doing that.
Wow.
You have to have a clear view of how big you think your company is going to get, and the future value of it, and then see if you're bringing in an advisor, what's the value that they're going to bring to the company. I work with startups, so I'm at the beginning. Yes, I can help you go so far, but probably by the time you're thinking IPO or acquisition even, there might be someone else out there who can help better. In which case, if I've got shares, why should I still continue to benefit? When my value has kind of decreased. Now, I know already this is going to kick a bunch of people off. I apologise already. But that's the mentality I've always had. Your equity, yes, it is the only thing of value you have. But it is valuable. Treat it like it, right? Make sure that people you are giving equity to can make that long-term contribution to the company, that it's not being held as kind of like ransom for getting you into the right room, introducing you to the right person. There's this whole sub-industry of brokers who they either work on kind of fees or equity to make the introduction to an investor, but usually there's a term that says, but if no one invests, then I can't help that, right? So it's of little value. I get that you could be desperate, but there are other ways of doing this. Right? There's grants that you can go after. There's thinking in terms of bootstrapping. As I say, won't go as fast, but it's all your cash.
Exactly.
And there are some really good examples of companies that have never got any kind of funding whatsoever. And they're really successful. And when you talk to the founder, what do they say? They go, I keep all of it. And that has a lot to do with it. It's all yours.
Well, it's so important, isn't it? I mean, it's that moment. So, I mean, you'll know about this from speaking to other founders, but there's a desperation sometimes, which pushes you into signing that contract or agreeing to certain things. And what would you say to a founder that finds themselves in that situation where it seems like it's non-negotiable? They have to go for it.
I mean, my instinct to that question is walk away as quickly as you can. Right, because nobody can categorically say that they are the only way that they need to be involved, because they're the only way that your business will thrive. Right. None of us are that important. Sorry, guys, we're really not. So having that kind of hold for one, massive red flags for me. I think it's also about seeing the dynamic shouldn't be you're desperate and I can come in and save the day. A good advisor will be saying to you, your business has so much potential.
Yeah.
I think I can help unlock that potential, and this is going to be exciting. This is a rush, right? And what we see instead is, I don't know if you ever go on like LinkedIn and look at the comments when someone posts to say that they've got investment. They are full of people saying, I can help. Yeah, sure you can, now that you know there's money there. The real advisors are the ones that go, no, this is such a good idea. And you do have to have confidence in your own abilities to help the founders get there. But equally, it's all about the founders.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, you are the guys who are going to deservedly get all the plaudits for when your company is a success.
Yeah.
You know, us advisors will just sit in the background and go, I did that.
I love that. It's so good to speak on stuff like this, because there are so many people out there in accelerators or in different areas, because they think the only way they can move their business forward is through different advisors at different levels.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to get rid of this, because it's not true, but it's what we're taught.
Yeah. And most of the kind of startup knowledge that's out there is, a vast proportion of it is marketing for services, for one. It's very rare that you get a clean version of information that doesn't end with, and I've got the perfect solution.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that. But I think there's also information that's out there all contradicts one another.
Yeah.
But it also comes with this attitude of like hustle, and you've got to really want it. And, you know, if you're not prepared to sacrifice, then you don't really want it as bad as you think you do. And that's just rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, there is absolutely, if you want to aspire to all or nothing entrepreneurship, go at it. You know, be my guest. I want to capture the people who say, I really believe that I can do this, but I'm not in a position, or I just don't want to take that many risks. And so they go into accelerators thinking that they're de-risking, but it's still based on that same myth that they need to go that route. I mentor for quite a few accelerators, and, you know, I am prone to talking to people and going, oh, do you really need investment? Not to stop investment as a whole. You know, for some of them it is a really good stepping stone. I just want them to think about, is there another option? Because then they just know that if that path doesn't work, there are other options. And then hopefully that counters that mood from the entrepreneur world of, you know, being a loser just because you can't get someone to give you investment.
That is it. That's a massive thing here, is that there are people out there in full-time jobs and they have a passion, but they don't necessarily buy into entrepreneur. And I think for me today, really, it was about breaking that down and saying there's no blueprint for it. You can be doing anything you want, and it can be your passion, and you're generating revenue, and you are an entrepreneur. But what do you think about that? Do you think there's a blueprint for being an entrepreneur?
No. I think it's dangerous to think that there is one. Because we start thinking that there's some magic formula. The only magic formula I've ever found is finding a founder who is excited about the idea, open to advice and guidance, understanding that they will know some of what they need, but not all, prepared to take some risks, prepared to kind of go outside their own comfort zone. But ultimately, my job is not to prescribe a solution. You know, you'll know this anyway. my first question is like, what does your business look like in your head for you? My job is to get you that version of the business. Now, I might know that that particular business could be much bigger. It's got huge potential. It could be massive. But if you're not there mentally, I'm not going to sit there and say, you're thinking too small. It's like, no, you're thinking with what you consider to be success at that time. I think for me, my job is to keep up with your ambition as a founder and not turn around and say, this is how you do it. You know, although if I know the answer, sometimes I will say.
Which is good. It's perfect. It's so good. But no, it's great to hear. And let's say there's people out there that are in these positions, they want to start businesses. How can they get in touch with you? How can they work with your startup partner?
Actually, this is perfect timing because so I've been working with a subscription model. So early startups do not have thousands of pounds to spend on coaching or consultancy and don't need it because a lot of them start as part-time against a job or just a few hours a week. So, you know, they're quite modest in their size. So I wanted to create a model which allowed them to access good advice, but without having to commit massively. And I've done that since 2018. I think what I realised was it still limited the amount of people that I could help. And, you know, I'm very much fighting against the tide of advice out there that's, I can't tell you how much I read websites and I go, yeah, that's not how to think about this at all. So, you know, I'm very much fighting against the tide of information that's out there. And so the last few months I've been sort of re-looking at that model. And so we're in the process of creating YSP Online, which is a subscription area. It will be kind of lots of advice on there, lots of articles about financial forecasting, what does bootstrapping really mean, what kind of mindset do you need, how do you negotiate with people, all the sort of basics of what you need to run a business. But on there also will be a chat function, because what I find is, you know, you don't need an hour-long conversation. Sometimes one question being answered in the right way can help you go, oh, right, now I know where I'm going. So that chat function comes through to me and I can answer those questions. And if after all of that you still don't quite have it, then there's going to be a way to book a session with me and start working with me more directly. I am really excited about YSP Online because I think, again, there's so much information out there. You can be overwhelmed with it. And none of it is customized. You know, you're getting quite generic advice. What I'm trying to do with YSP Online is give you the advice, but then show you how to adapt it for how you think of your business. As opposed to, this is the way to do pricing. This is the way to market. It's like, no, these are the principles. Now, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself so that your business continues to feel like yours.
Exactly.
So that's coming soon. There's a wait list on the website at the moment. But sometime in August we'll be launching that.
Amazing. We'll definitely link that, because I think the most important thing for me that's really come out of today is that there's no blueprint to being an entrepreneur. Like, all of the things we think about in our minds that limit us and don't want us to succeed in our heads, none of it's true. And I think obviously I'll link everything so other people can contact you, but that's the one thing I've learned from working with you, and it's given me this freedom in my business, really just to relax and have fun with it.
I mean, what's the point otherwise? You're doing so much and you're putting so much of yourself into the business. Why should it be difficult? Why should it be hard? Just because somebody said that, you know, unless you're working at it like 18 hours a day, then you can't want it badly enough. It's like, no, dude, just chill out.
But do you have any final advice you want to give anybody out there looking to start a business?
I guess it's less advice and more a comment, because you're right, there is no blueprint for the companies, and as entrepreneurs it can be really daunting. And I think something that I put out on social media quite a lot is, don't discount yourself from the process. You may not think you look like an entrepreneur, you may not think that people like you start businesses. They absolutely do. And actually we need a more diverse selection of people starting businesses, creating businesses with their values and their visions. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, that's all very well, but I couldn't do that. People like me, they don't start businesses. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. And we need you in the marketplace. So get in touch.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much, Lee.
No problem.
And I'm going to put all of Lee's social media links and links to your startup partner, the waitlist, everything, because I just think it's so important. And follow Lee on LinkedIn, because all the posts are super helpful, the ones that come out every day. I love it. It's just it's advice that you just get, and you know that you're okay in yourself. But thank you so much, and see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you for having me.